Hello, welcome to Scrap Time. My name's Christine, and this video is part of the Inky background series, and we are going to be using acrylic paints. Now, up till now, we have been using a lot of water-based mediums that will blend together and reactivate with water and that. So acrylic paints is a whole new, not new, but compared to watercolors, it's a whole new realm. Acrylic paints are plastic-based, and so they sit on top of one another. Once they dry, they don't reactivate. So therefore you can do a whole slew of different techniques with them. Now I am going to be showing you a Brayering technique here. And I am using Dina Wakley Media acrylic paints. And her paints are a heavy body, which means they're going to be a little thicker, a little more opaque than some other paints. This technique can be used with any type of acrylic paint. It can even be used with watercolors if you want it. But anyway, I'm going to show you the Brayering technique and how the paints sit on top of one another. So I have a brayer here, a large and a smaller one, and use a brayer depending on what size project you're doing. So because I'm using a smaller piece of paper, I'm just going to use my small little brayer. If you're doing a larger journal, you might want a larger brayer. So you just pick the one that works for your project. Now I like Dina's paints because they're in these bottles with a small nib. So for this technique, I can apply my paint directly to my paper because I know I'm not going to get a huge amount. If you're using like Liquitex paints where you have the thicker opening, you might want to just put your paint on your craft mat, roll your brayer in, and then add it to your project. But for me, I'm going to put it directly onto my card. And I'm just going to do a line of magenta, and then I'm going to do a line of tangerine. Now when I brayer, I like to brayer in the direction of the line. I find that way I don't get a big stain, like a blob where the paint is. So you can see the brightness of these colors and by brayering. So when I was showing you some of the watercolor products, I was saying, like especially the pencils and that, you have a lot of control over your color. Now with this brayering technique, you have no control over your color. You have no idea once you put it on and brayer it what's it's going to be. And to me, that I enjoy that. I like that. Every time you do it, it's going to be a little different. So now I'm going to go in with some ruby. Now ruby is quite dark, so I know if I put a lot of ruby on, it's going to sort of overtake the design, and I don't want it to overtake. I still want some of those colors to come through. Now because I'm brayering it on and I'm making it really thin, it's pretty much dry. It's a little wet, but not that wet, so I can keep going in with color because it's such a thin layer of paint. I'm going to go in with some cheddar. Which is a darker orange. So the reason why I wanted to put cheddar on was because I had a feeling it was going to be too dark for me, and I want to show you later how you can bring back that color. And I'm going to go in with some carnation. So you can see that even that light carnation is covering up like the ruby and the cheddar, which were darker colors. So that's the thing with acrylic paint. No matter how soft the color is, it's still opaque enough to cover up. So as I'm doing this, I'm realizing I'm losing my pink and orange. I'm losing that brightness I started with. And so I'm going to go back in with some of the tangerine. And some of the magenta. And so I can bring that brightness back to the top, but I still have all those layers. So even though I like those two colors to bring the brightness back, I wouldn't not have wanted to do all the other layers in between, because it still adds a lot more interest than if I had just stopped at the first time. And then just for fun, I want to bring in just a little turquoise, because I like turquoise and orange together, and I just want to show you. But because I know it's going to be, which way do I want it? Maybe I'm going to put it over here. I'm only putting a little down because I don't want the whole thing to turn turquoise. But there, you can see how fun. It didn't mix, it doesn't turn brown with the orange or that. It sort of sits on top, but just that pop of blue just added what this background needed. And so that is how you can create a layered background just using a brayer and some acrylic paint. There's so much you can do with acrylic paint, but I just want to show you this one technique today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to give our video a thumbs up and subscribe to Scrap Time videos on YouTube. And for more Inky backgrounds, be sure to check out the Inky background playlist.